He's been in the music business for more than 38 years and sold more than 100 million albums with his group KISS. He's here today to speak with me. Paul Stanley of KISS, welcome to you.
It's great to be here.
More than 3,000 licenses you own in partnership with Gene Simmons. More than 100 million albums sold. Over $500 million in merchandising sales since 1973. Was that the vision when you were a kid in New York with Gene Simmons? Was that your vision?
I think the vision was always to be the biggest, the best, and to stand on the shoulders of the bands that we looked up to. In one sense, we wanted to be the Beatles. We wanted to be four individuals where people could love the band collectively, but also find a favorite member.
Come on and love.
Certainly we never, and I had never wanted to follow rank. I wanted to start my own parade.
And of course, you were known for the makeup, the star on your eye, and the star child, as they called you. Where did the concept for the makeup come from?
We were in a time where there had been this great British invasion where bands looked terrific. And when you saw a band, invariably you knew that a member of the Stones wasn't in the Beatles because the Beatles looked one way, the Stones looked another way. All bands seemed to have their own calling card as far as identity. We wanted to take that a step further, and the makeup seemed like the perfect way for each one of us to come up with a character that symbolized and embodied us as individuals. Now, that being said, no individual in the band could have come up with their makeup without the other three members there. There was a synergy, you know, that made all this happen.
And when you had the makeup, did you really have anonymity?
Well, it's a funny question because people think that off stage it was Clark Kent and Superman and we could just go walking around. And the truth of the matter is, it probably worked to my advantage because I could separate myself and say there's me off stage and me on stage, and the look is different. But, you know, if you see a guy walking down the street who's 6 foot plus with black hair down to here and platform boots, you go, either he's a member of KISS or the circus is in town. So anonymity, no. But being able to separate myself, yes.
And now when you look at the music industry now, all of these groups are fighting to have the same kind of presence that KISS had because the sales have slowed down in the music industry. When you look back at that period, was the merchandising bringing in more money than the music itself at any period?
Not for us. They all went hand in hand together. It's very, very tough for any band now to, let alone succeed, but make any kind of money. There's just less money available. Record companies blew it when they didn't stop sampling and file sharing and all this other nonsense before it got out of hand. So now record companies are scrambling to basically put bands into slavery so that they can make the money that they've lost. It's unfortunate because as much as somebody who's aspiring to be a successful musician might want to say, I'm just doing this for the music, when they can't pay their rent, they're going to think, well, the money also helps. And at some point, you're going to need, you know, the money to fund your career and to keep it going forward.
And I just want to clarify, when you talk about record companies signing artists into slavery, that you're probably talking about 360 deals in which they sign a contract which allows the record company not only to get the revenues from the album, but also everything else, the merchandising, the touring, sure, and everything else that they do.
Sure, you become an indentured servant. It's unfortunate, and it's the record company trying to make up for their lack of due diligence when they could have saved their own hides. You know, this whole idea that's propagated that people are file sharing, things like that are absolute nonsense. You can't share what you don't own. I can't say I'm sharing your transportation and steal your car. You know, it's a great sounding term, but this whole idea of mass distributing something that somebody doesn't have any rights to is insane, or trying to back it up by saying, I or someone else have enough money that it shouldn't matter. Let me be the one to determine that. I worked my butt off to get to where I am, and I'll set the ground rules.
So what is the solution for record companies?
I really don't know at this point. I don't know what the future holds. I worry more about the bands that don't have the same access to the public, and who, if they have a chance to put out product, are shackled in so many ways that that pot of gold isn't there for them. And that's very important. At some point, you need that financial security. It's very good to say, I'm in it for the music, but it's the music business. And if you're not in it for everything, if you're not in it for the business, there's somebody who's as talented at taking your money as you are at making it.
You're not one to be pigeonholed.